of the April 24th meeting of Senate Finance Committee will come to order. We have two bills on the agenda, Senate File 1832, Senator Champion, and also Senator Hur's Environment Bill. I think we are likely to recess after the first bill and return maybe after session, depending on timing and everything. But so the Environment Bill, we'll have a recess before that for session or whatever. So with that, Senator Champion, welcome to Senate Finance Committee with the Jobs Bill.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the committee members. Thank you for allowing me to present Senate File 1832 as amended. While this is primarily a budget document, I do want to highlight a few policy items first. I want to first highlight that we were very intentional about not including any controversial policy provisions to adhere to the chair's guidance on combining policy and budget bills. We have a number of non-controversial policy pieces in here, but I do want to highlight that Senator Draheim's proposal to include labor participation rates by counties was included. We think that's a good idea, and that is worth a conversation as we will continue to move forward with this bill. You will see that we have reporting language based off of Senator Pratt's bill that we heard in the Jobs Committee. We didn't go quite as far as Senator Pratt's bill did, but we wanted to make sure that there was a base level of reporting necessary for every direct appropriation made in our bill. And just so you know, we also require 990s. For context, when we were getting ready for session, we were attempting to do our homework to see how things were going with all of our appropriations from 2023, and if possible, some from 2024. But we were surprised that more reporting wasn't publicly available to us. While we are sensitive to making organizations spend more time reporting on the work they're doing rather than doing the actual work, we do think that a base level of reporting is necessary for all organizations so that we can prioritize our finite resources, as Senator Draheim and others have talked about throughout session. We feel that we have struck a reasonable balance, but I am more than willing to continue to work to refine this language as the bill moves forward. Before I wrap up, I want to highlight that we incorporated feedback from NDC, MEDA, and the Minnesota Initiative Foundation into the Promise Act program that we created 2 years ago. While we have seen great results so far, we have learned a lot from the rollout and administering the first round of the program, and the changes we have made aim to make more businesses and entrepreneurs eligible while still aiming to help small businesses and not letting larger businesses with more easy access to capital soak up all the money from the program. I think we have found the right balance again, but as always, I'm open to feedback because I want to make sure that this helps as many small businesses across our state as we possibly can. Now to the budget. We did our best to fund projects across the state, not just in the metro area. We have Senator Pratt's bill for therapy for first responders in the bill, as well as Senator Draheim's proposal to help train more oncologists in rural areas where there is a dire need for them. I want to thank Senator Draheim and Senator Pratt for their partnership in working together, as well as the Vice Chair, of course, Senator Muhammad, working together on this bill this year, since they all serve on the Jobs Committee with me. So I want you to know it meant a lot to me that we were able to pass the bill unanimously out of the committee with your support. So I wanted to put my gratitude for that on the record. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and Council and fiscal staff are happy to do so as well. So I thought, Mr. Chair, that we would start with Ms.
Welcome to the committee. And Senator Champion, you'd like to go through the spreadsheet and all the bill before taking up amendments, I assume?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Grunwald-Noldner, welcome to the committee, and please go ahead with the spreadsheets.
Mr. Chair and committee members, my name is Hannah Grunwald-Noldner. I'm the fiscal analyst on the Jobs Committee. I'll be walking through the budget today that's included in Senate File 1832. In your packets, you should have two spreadsheets, one of which is a change-only document, and the other just a more detailed breakdown of the budget. I'll be walking through the change-only one, so you want to look for the title, Senate File 1832, change only as passed by the Jobs Committee with the timestamp of 4/9/25, 5:53 p.m. So This first page has a summary of the changes included in the bill. So lines 1 through 25 include a summary, and then beginning on line 26 and beyond is a more detailed breakdown. But I'll just start with the summary. For the general fund spending, for deed appropriations, there's about 7.8 million increase in fiscal year 26-27. And in fiscal year 28-29, there's a decrease here, but this is mostly for a transfer change that we'll talk about once we get to it later in the spreadsheet. So line 6 shows transfers of 8 million in 26-27, 8 million in 28-29. For Explore Minnesota Tourism, 6.875 million in fiscal year 26-27, and 502,000 in fiscal year 28-29. On line 15, you'll see a revenue amount for deed. This is representing a transfer from the special revenue fund of 14 million in fiscal year 2026. So the net total for the general fund on line 2 shows in fiscal year 26-27 an 8.649 million increase over base, and in the tails 4.546 million increase. And then for the Workforce Development Fund on line 24, there's an increase of 39.862 million in fiscal year 26-27 for deed. And then the next few lines show spending by fund, and this represents all of the agencies within the budget. So lines 28 through 32 are just showing those changes by fund. And we've already talked about general fund and workforce development fund. I'll just point out the change here on line 31 for special revenue fund of 14 million in 2026. And then from the family medical benefit insurance fund, decrease of 5 million a year. And then the next few lines is just another breakdown by fund, this time for deed, and I won't walk through every one there. We can go on to the next page. So beginning with deed, the Business and Community Development Division, on line 64, the first change item here is from the general fund, a decrease of 600,000 in fiscal year 2026 and a decrease of 1 million in fiscal year 28-29 for the Host Community Economic Development Program. On line 79, there's a decrease for the cannabis startup grants, and this is only showing it as a decrease because it's being moved from the appropriation section in the bill to the transfer section of the bill. So in total, there isn't a change. This grant, it's just changing where it's in the bill. On line 85 for MNSBIR Inc., a one-time appropriation of 1 million in fiscal year 26-27. On line 91 for the Promise Act grants, one-time appropriation of 4.5 million in fiscal year 2026. And this is broken up between the Minnesota Initiative Foundations and the Neighborhood Development Center, which is split up between regions, North Minneapolis, South Minneapolis, St. Paul, and the 7-county metro. On line 111 for the Neighborhood Development Center, a one-time appropriation of 1 million. On line 112, this is another transfer move for the Emerging Developer Fund Program. So moving a transfer of $1 million a year from the appropriation section to the transfer section. On line 122, Community and Economic Development Associates, a one-time appropriation of $627,000 in fiscal year 2026. On line 138, Enterprise Minnesota, Small Business Growth Acceleration, $500,000 in one-time funding. And then for Enterprise Minnesota Made in Minnesota program, $500,000 one time. For the Coalition of Asian American Leaders, one-time appropriation of 1 million in fiscal year 26-27. Then I'll jump down to the transfer section, which just shows those two appropriations that were moved to this transfer section. So that's Emerging Entrepreneur Loan Program and the Cannabis Startup Grants. On line 178, this shows a change in the Special Revenue Fund from the 21st Century Fund. So this is a 14 million cost from the Special Revenue Fund, and that's a transfer out to the general fund. On line 183, This shows an appropriation from the Workforce Development Fund for Asian Economic Development Association of $1 million in one-time funding in fiscal year 26-27. And then for Women Venture, also from the Workforce Development Fund, $1 million one-time appropriation in fiscal year 26-27. Then there's no change to the Contaminated Site Cleanup Grant and the Remediation Fund. Turning to page 3, this is the Employment and Training Program Division of DEED. So beginning with General Fund Appropriations on line 227 for COPAL, $750,000 in fiscal year 26-27. For Minnesota Diversified Industries, $900,000 in one-time funding. The next two lines for Hmong American Partnership is extending the availability of the 2025 appropriation. And this amount here is just the estimated amount that is that would have canceled otherwise without an extension. So that's 1.05 million showing a reduction, and then the reappropriation. On line 242 for All Square, $300,000 in fiscal year 2026 in one-time funding. The next two lines is another extension for Ramsey County Pathway Program. And again, this amount is showing what would have otherwise canceled, which is $396,000. On line 271 for Al Maun, $1 million in fiscal year 26-27 one time. And the next two lines is another extension for the Power of People Leadership Institute of $1.297 million. Beginning on line 298 are the Workforce Development Fund appropriations. And I'll just say the rest of these appropriations on this page are all one-time funding for fiscal year 26-27. So beginning with the first one here, Minnesota Diversified Industries for Career Skills, $250,000 in fiscal year 2026. Ujamaa Place, $800,000. Hired, $800,000. American Indian Communities OIC, $1 million. Father Project Goodwill Easter Seals, $2 million. Big Brothers Big Sisters, $500,000. Minnesota Grocers Association, Carts to Careers, $500,000. Hospitality Minnesota Pro Start, $500,000. Clues, $1.4 million. Twin Cities Rise, $1.4 million. Workforce Development Inc., $550,000. Project for Pride and Living, $1 million. Pillsbury United Communities, $250,000. International Institute, $1.1 million. Minnesota Resiliency Partnership, $400,000. Emerge Community Development, $500,000. Workforce Development Inc., Bridges to Healthcare, $1 million. Propel Nonprofits, $2 million. Summit Academy OIC, $1.5 million. Better Futures, $600,000. So then moving on to page 4, these appropriations are also from the Workforce Development Fund, and this entire page, they're all one-time funding in fiscal year 26-27. So beginning on line 325, 30,000 feet, $250,000. Hmong American Partnership, $600,000. Boulder Options Youth Mentoring Program, $1 million. North Minneapolis Change Starts with the Community, $1 million. Inspire MSP, $200,000. Jobs Foundation, $250,000. City of Brooklyn Park Workforce Development Programming, $1 million. Equitable Development Action, $170,000. YMCA of the North, $400,000. Twin Cities Urban League, $400,000. Abijah's on the Backside, $500,000. Latino Economic Development Center, $1 million. Northside Boxing Club, $250,000. Black Women's Wealth Alliance, $1 million. Aspirus Lakeview Hospital, $42,000. West Broadway Business and Area Coalition, $250,000. The Santa Foundation, $1.5 million. Alliance of Boys and Girls Club, $1.5 million. Mind the Gap, $1.5 million. MICC, $1 million. City of St. Paul Right Track Youth Internship Program, $500,000. STEM grants, $3 million. Minnesota Association of Black Lawyers, $700,000. One Community Alliance, $200,000. Ambassadors of Culture, Hoya Hour, and United Way of Central Minnesota, $300,000. For the Rural Cancer Institute, $600,000. For Somali American Youth Enrichment Club, $50,000. For Mad Dads of Minneapolis, $400,000. And for a test preparation pilot program, $250,000. So moving to page 5, for the General Support Services Division of Deed on line 393, there's a general operating increase of $2.274 million in fiscal year 26-27 and about $3 million in fiscal year 28-29. There's no changes to the Minnesota Trade Office. For the Vocational Rehabilitation Services under deed, there is a program increase on line 413 of $2 million in fiscal year 26-27 and $2 million in fiscal year 28-29. There's no change to the state services for the blind division. And then under other, beginning on line 430, this change represents a reduction of the direct appropriation from the Family Medical Benefit Insurance Fund. So on line 439, you'll see that reduction of a total of $45.5 million in fiscal year 26-27 and $10 million in fiscal year 28-29. And this is showing, like I said, a reduction of the direct appropriation from the FMBI fund. The forecast included the direct appropriation for the program, which was how the bill was originally set in the 2023 paid leave bill. On line 442, this represents the chair's position, which is to use the authority provided in Minnesota Statutes Chapter 268B.02 for statutorily appropriating the administration of the program, which is shown on line 442 of $35.5 million. Turning to the last page, for Explore Minnesota Tourism, the general fund appropriations here on line 449, there's an operating increase of $375,000 in fiscal year 26-27 and $502,000 in fiscal year 28-29. On line 461, there's a one-time appropriation of $1.5 million for the 2026 Special Olympic Games. On line 465, there's a one-time appropriation of $5 million for the World Junior Hockey Championships. There's no changes then for the rest of the agencies or areas impacted by the budget, but I will jump down to line 491, which shows a revenue of a transfer into the general fund from the special revenue fund of $14 million from the 21st Century Fund. So I'll end there, Mr. Chair. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Questions from members of the committee? If not, Ms. Doyle-Fontaine, are you going to, no, you're just for questions. Okay.
I do have some amendments, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I'd like to move the A16 amendment.
A16 amendment. I think that's in our packets.
And Mr. Chair, what that is just to correct something that I had already talked to the committee about. When we were at the final markup, we had to take some money from the 21st Century Fund, and I made it clear that that was just a placeholder. So what we are doing is making sure that money goes back there, but also taking $14 million from our Minnesota Forward Fund in order to make sure that we are able to fill back that hole. So that was a commitment that I made, and I also made that clear to the committee.
Thank you. Is there a discussion from the committee on Senator Pratt?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Champion. Can you explain to the rest of the committee what the Minnesota Forward account is?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And that is a fund that we had established a couple of years ago in order to make sure that we could have a fund so that corporations and businesses who were actively going after federal funds would have revenue available for it. And we have some money that we could use in order to plug back and put that money back.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Senator Champion. And you touched exactly on my concern. While I shared my concerns about taking money out of the 21st Century Mining Fund, I'm also concerned about taking money out of this fund. Because as you said, it's projects that require federal matches that are eligible for this fund. And as we heard the governor's speech last night, we want to be an area where business is attracted, right? We want to be able to retain and expand, and that's exactly the purpose of the Minnesota Forward Fund. I'm afraid we're going to be putting ourselves at an economic disadvantage to other states as we start competing for CHIPS Act and other types of programs. In fact, I've had several conversations with MedTech and pharmaceuticals about wanting to expand our domestic production of those items. And Minnesota should be at the forefront with our medical community. We should be at the forefront of those industries. So, Mr. Chair, I'm going to oppose the amendment at this time. I appreciate Senator Champion trying to find someplace other than the mining fund, because that is so important to our Iron Range members. But I think this is equally a mistake to be drawing additional spending room from.
Mr. Chair, two things. Thank you for your articulated concerns, Senator Pratt, but let me clarify two things. One is, as you know, that in the bill, we removed the notion around the match for the federal funds, because we understood that there are a number of different things going on the federal level, and we wanted to make sure that corporations and others can still receive the support and help that they need. And also, just so that you know, that we have more than $130 million in that fund, so that's why this was a place in order to do it, and we still don't get in the way of those corporations and others being able to utilize the fund. That was an initiative that I put forward and presented, and it still will maintain it.
Further discussion on the A16 amendment? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion prevails.
Mr. Chair, I also have the A23 amendment, so I'd move that at this time.
The 23 amendment is in the packet. Senator Champion moves that. Senator Champion on the amendment.
This amendment just makes sure that we are complying with the budget rules, that we were not supposed to have language that says agencies or others can utilize, money until expended. There needed to be a date on it, so we wanted to make sure that the date was there and that we were complying with budget rules.
And with this amendment, Senator Champion, then the entire bill complies with the budget rules, I believe.
That is correct.
Good. Thank you. On the A23 amendment, is there further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion prevails. Senator Champion.
I also have the A28 amendment, and I move that at this time.
That is also in the packet, so Senator Champion moves the A28 amendment.
And what this is that I realized that there was a decrease that we need to do for the STEM ecosystem that still meets their objectives and their goals and what they would like to do. And we just made some changes to inserting after unemployment, insert adult. And so that was important to put forward.
There are questions from the committee on the A28 amendment. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion prevails.
And
Senator Champion.
And Mr. Chair, those are the amendments that I have, and I know that Senator Mohammed has an amendment that she could present at this time because she captured some things that we were supposed to have in the bill. And the day that we did the markup, unfortunately, she couldn't join us. So if we could go to Senator Mohammed, that would be great.
Senator Mohammed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Champion. I have the A30 amendment.
It's not in the packet, okay. Senator Mohammed is the A30 amendment.
Wasn't it? And after we go through this amendment, Mr. Chair, I do have one more amendment.
Okay, you do have one more, okay. Senator Mohammed on the A30 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A30 amendment is basically some funds for Cairo, which is an organization in Greater Minnesota. This is mostly for Senator Putnam that I'm helping carry along for him, and we heard it in committee, and I think it missed our minds to include them. $300,000 each fiscal year for their workforce development program, as well as $100,000 for Inspired Change Clinic, which is an organization that creates pathways for students who are interested in the healthcare field, and to continue to strengthen their workforce program. And we included them in the bill last year, and also this year. Bill's coming out of the revisor late, so wanted to include them as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Champion, any comments on the amendment?
That would be a friendly amendment.
Any further discussion on the A30 amendment? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion prevails. Senator Champion, you said you had another one?
I did the A26 amendment. That should be in your packet as well.
I did see an A26, yes. It is in the packets.
And I move that at this time.
Senator Champion moves the A26 amendment.
And so the A26 amendment, what it does, there was an initiative that we talked about in committee that is a part of the bill, but some language needed to be clarified and dealt with, and this is our attempt in order to do that, and this should be an amendment that should be acceptable. This is for that testing program.
Is there a discussion of the A26 amendment? Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm just going to reiterate for this committee what I said in Jobs. I think it's a fine program. It doesn't fit within the Jobs Committee. It's not about workforce development. It's about training people to take graduate level entry exams like LSAT, MCAT, GMAT, whatever. And it's a fine program, but the Workforce Development Fund is a surcharge on top of the unemployment insurance premium tax. And often, and Senator Champion has heard me say this many, many times, that we need to be focused on workforce development. We need to be working on removing those barriers to employment, not helping somebody get a graduate level degree. We need pipe fitters and construction workers just as much as we need lawyers, and quite honestly, we don't need any more finance guys going through MBA school like me. I oppose the underlying provision, and I'll oppose the amendment.
Senator Champion.
And Mr. Chair and Senator Pratt is correct that he's talked about this, and he and I have talked about the Workforce Development Fund, and we'll always share what we believe that Workforce Development Fund should be used for. We thought we would do this pilot because we are trying to keep individuals and young people and Minnesotans here, and so that they will continue to enhance our workforce. And so that's why we decided to give it a chance. And so his point is well taken, and we'll continue to have conversation about it. But I would ask that we would get the support for the A26 amendment.
Further discussion on the A26 amendment? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion prevails.
So, Mr. Chair, that is all of our amendments, and we'll stand for any questions if there are any.
Questions from the committee on the bill? Senator Pratt. And by the way, Senator Pratt, before you start, we will have the pages distribute the labor bill because that's one that we would be incorporating into this one, the one we adopted the other day. Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was wondering if Senator Champion or our nonpartisan staff could dig a little bit more into line 438 on the spreadsheet and the reduction in paid family medical leave direct appropriations.
And Mr. Chair, before I have our fiscal analyst do that, One of the things I made very clear, not just this year, but last year, that we keep, paid family and medical leave separate. And so I'll now let Ms. Noner answer the question for Senator Pratt.
Mr. Chair and committee members, Senator Pratt, maybe I can walk through what was originally appropriated and then what the spreadsheet looks like now. So in 2023, the legislature used direct appropriations from the Family Medical Benefit Insurance account for startup costs in 24-25, and then the language set the base for fiscal year 26-27. Those 26-27 amounts were largely for administering the program before the start of the program on January 1st, 2026. And ultimately, the intention at the time was to have the program's admin costs statutorily appropriated at the start of the program. So this year's forecast included those base items in 26-27 as originally directed in the 2023 legislation. And then this session, upon further analysis, the proposed Senate position is to have the admin portion of the direct appropriation covered under the statutorily appropriation authorized in Chapter 268B.02, which is shown on line 442 of the spreadsheet. And line 439 of the spreadsheet is showing the reductions of those direct appropriations that were originally set in the base for fiscal year 26-27.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and either Senator Champion or Ms. Noldner. Some of these were supposed to be going to small business grants as well to help small business comply with paid family medical leave provisions. Am I correct on that?
Ms. Grunwald.
Mr. Chair, Senator Pratt, that's correct. The portion of the direct appropriations originally in 2023 were $35.5 million for administrating the program in fiscal year 2026, and then $5 million a year for the small business assistance program.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Ms. Noldner. And just for clarification for the public, these are not general fund monies. These are coming from the FMBI. Can you explain what that is?
Mr. Chair, Senator Pratt, committee members, that's correct. These are non-general fund appropriations. The Family Medical Benefit Insurance account was established in 2023 session with a transfer from the general fund to that account to set the program up.
Continue, Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Ms. Noldner, can you tell me how much we have in that fund right now?
Mr. Chair, Senator Pratt, committee members, I can look. It might just take me 1 second. Mr. Chair, committee members, the Family Medical Benefit Insurance Fund, as of February 2025 forecast for the 2026-2027 biennium, the balance in the fund is at $537.4 million.
Thank you.
Continue if you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me just say I continue to be impressed with our nonpartisan staff and how quickly they get some of this stuff. So, Ms. Noldner, we are not directly appropriating money out of that account, but we are relying on a statutory appropriation. Had we appropriated these monies, would the statutory appropriation occur?
Mr. Chair, committee members, Senator Pratt, the language under Chapter 268B.02 has the language unless otherwise appropriated. So these direct appropriations would have been unless otherwise appropriated. So the statutorily appropriated items wouldn't have needed to be made with the direct appropriations. Although beginning January 1 of the program, there was a statutory appropriation authority given to DEED in order to draw from the fund for administering the program.
Senator Pratt, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so, Senator Champion, you don't include the direct appropriation. You do it, and you rely on the statutory appropriation. Is there any language in your bill that reflects that shift from forecast?
Mr. Chair and Senator Pratt, no.
Senator Pratt, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'm concerned about this. In the budget rules that we just reviewed earlier this year, Budget Rule B.6 says generally appropriations should be made as direct appropriations. A direct appropriation is available for a limited period of time, usually within a biennium, and is made in session law. A direct appropriation encourages an affirmative and periodic review of appropriations by the legislature and the governor. In my evaluation of what we're seeing in this spreadsheet is not in line with the budget rules that we adopted. We should be doing the direct appropriation and not relying on the statutory appropriation to handle this. So, Mr. Chair, I would like to offer the A25 amendment.
Excuse me, Senator Pratt, the A25 amendment is being offered, and it's not in the packet, so we will distribute that. Senator Pratt, on the A25 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, this is a very simple amendment. It restores the direct appropriation to deed and removes the necessity of having the statutory appropriation, as Ms. Noldner described. The statutory appropriation would not be necessary. And I believe this brings us in line with the budget rules that we've adopted.
Senator Champion on the.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I oppose the A25. We believe that we are within the budget rules. We have adequately captured what we need to. There is no other provisions or anything in our bill, and so we would ask, I'm asking the committee to not adopt the A25. And I would ask for a roll call vote.
Senator Champion requests a roll call. Is there further discussion on the A25? Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Senator Champion, for your work on this bill. And as we've talked before about this issue, to me, it's about transparency. And the general public relies on our bills to get the majority of their information. They don't know where their spreadsheets are hidden. So this A25 amendment that Senator Pratt is offering doesn't change what you're doing in your bill, and I support your bill. But there is no no transparency for the general public to follow what we're doing. And I think I've been a broken record, as you know, the 9 years I've been here about transparency. And we've had a discussion on this spreadsheet before on this line item. And it doesn't change anything in your bill. It only improves the transparency for the people sitting out here and the people back home. So I 100% support the E25. Thank you.
Further discussion? If not,
Mr. Chair.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think Senator Draheim did a very good job of summarizing why this is so important and why we've codified it within our budget rules. And I think it's incumbent upon this committee to be the one to enforce those budget rules. B.6 is extremely clear. Appropriations should be made as direct appropriations, period. That's the very first sentence of the budget rule. And here we have and we've done a number of amendments here to comply with our budget rules in the past, and here we're about to take a vote on one that is being opposed after our nonpartisan staff has gone through the work of finding agreement between the House, the Senate, and the executive branch. And I will be extremely disappointed in this committee if we do not enforce those budget rules as we've adopted them early in session. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Pratt. And Senator Champion requested a roll call on this.
That's correct,
Will
Mr. Chair.
staff take the roll?
Senator Marty,
No?
Senator Friends,
No.
Senator Pratt,
Yes.
Senator Champion,
No.
Senator Dames,
Yes.
Senator Draheim,
Yes.
Senator Howe, Senator Jazinski,
Yes.
Senator Mohammed,
No.
Senator Murphy,
Nope.
Senator Pappas,
No.
Senator Wickland,
There being 4 yes votes and 7 no votes, the motion does not prevail. Further discussion, further amendments? If not, Senator Champion, any more comments on the bill?
No.
Senator
No.
Draheim.
I would like to offer. Sorry, Chair. I'd like to offer the A29.
Senator Draheim offers a 29 amendment, which is being distributed.
Chair, if I could start.
Senator Draheim, go ahead with the A29 amendment.
Thank you. This should look familiar to Senator Frantz. It's his Senate File 3141 that Senator Frantz and Senator Rasmussen, I think Seeberger and Nelson have been working on. And it has to do with paid family and some changes. We recently had a town hall that Senator Frantz and myself and Deputy Commissioner Rowe attended, and had a lot of great discussion on paid family medical leave. And the input from all that attended generally support 100% of Senator Frantz's bill here. And so I'd like to offer it here for consideration.
On the A29, Senator Champion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Draheim. Members, I'd ask that you oppose the A29, and let me tell you why. We have intentionally, as a committee, and I, as an author, have tried to keep any paid family medical leave issue separate from our bill. That's not anything new. I've done that even when the bill was going through the process. It was not included in our bill because I believe that it has its own set of considerations, and it should be done outside of our committee. In fact, I made that very clear to our committee, which is why we didn't hear anything related to it. And just like we did in 2023, we referred those issues on to Senator Mann because we wanted to keep them separate. So I'm not asking or judging as to whether this is a good or bad bill. I'm saying it shouldn't be a part of our bill, and I've made that very clear. And so I'm going to ask the committee not to adopt the A29.
Further discussion, Senator Frantz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Draheim. It's a pleasure to sit next to you at that town hall where we heard from a number of small business owners who would like us to look carefully at paid family and medical leave. And it is no secret that I'm the author of the bill, which is identical to your amendment. Having said that, I'm a no on the amendment, not only for the reason that Senator Champion mentions, which is I think it's a separate topic. And as you can probably guess, as a member of the DFL who authored this bill, I'm having a few conversations about paid family and medical leave and plan to continue those to find the sweet spot for our small businesses and our workers. But not only do I agree with Senator Champion that it has its own set of circumstances, But in order to not be thrown off the tallest building by my own caucus, I've also pledged to steer clear of amendments in committee or on the floor on paid family and medical leave, but very much looking forward to the end of session and discussions on this. And I plan to stick by that pledge. You only get one reputation around here, and mine's going to be to keep my word on paid family and medical leave and still pursue what I think is some reasonable adjustments to that. With that, Mr. Chair and members, I'll be a no on this amendment.
Further discussion on the Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair. And Senator Champion, could you tell me what committee this belongs in, if it doesn't belong in this committee?
Mr. Chair, Senator Draheim, you're a very wise one. You have, you are the lead on jobs. You know that when this bill came up, it was separate from any of our bills, and we've made that really clear. So it's not just one committee that the paid family and medical leave bill had to go through. It's various committees. And in fact, what I promised even last in 2023, that you could see the bill again once it went through all of its considerations, just so our committee had an opportunity to speak into that bill one way or the other. I was never the author of it. It was never a part of our omnibus bill. It's a separate bill. And so that is what I would say, Senator. And I would go one step further. This year, you asked for an overview. I did everything that anyone asked me to do in order for the committee to feel like they could talk about paid family and medical leave, but I've always, even then, made it very clear that's a separate bill that has a separate author, and that anything related to that should be dealt with separately and not as a part of our omnibus bill. And so I would hope that you would remember that. And I understand that there's a lot of feelings about paid family and medical leave. I'm not suggesting if it's good or bad. I'm saying it is not a part of our bill. I've been very intentional, not only now, but even before. So it has various stops that it would go through.
Senator Draheim.
Let me rephrase the question. Thank you, Chair. Senator Champion, which committee has jurisdiction over paid family medical leave? Mr. Chair, Senator, I think that there's certain provisions that certain committees, different committees have jurisdiction over, which is why it had to go through various committees. I'm not trying to be evasive. I'm very transparent. I've been very consistent as it pertains to this paid family and medical leave. So are there provisions that we had to hear? Absolutely. As it's in health, as in other places as well. Different committees have different portions of the bill that they would have to hear. Chair?
Go ahead, Senator Draheim.
Thank you. So your committee that you chair has jurisdiction over taking money away from this fund, from small businesses that we promised them we would help them out with when we rolled out this program. But your committee refuses to hear any bills or identify any bill that would be appropriate to amend on any paid family medical leave, which is what you said in committee. And maybe the majority leader could help me out and tell me which committee would have the proper jurisdiction. And if it isn't this committee, then why are we taking money out of this account?
Mr. Chair and Senator Draheim, I'll, of course, let the majority leader speak to this. But just so that we're clear, this is not the first time that there's been a bill that has traveled alone and that the money is someplace else. So everything related to the bill is someplace else. And the only thing we hold would be money, nothing else. And that's been done whether it's been under Democratic control or Republican control. And so so the reason for that separation is so that there's nothing that gets in the way of having that conversation about whatever that bill or policy or provision is. There's an author, there's others who work very profusely and feverishly on that bill. That's no difference here. And you would agree, Senator Draheim, that I've been very transparent about my thoughts and feelings and have done so even in the last biennium to keep those things separate and for me not to have to deal anything or deal with that paid family medical leave bill at all. So I now would defer if Senator Murphy has anything to say, because you named and asked her specifically, but I wanted to make sure I laid the foundation as it pertains to my participation with paid family medical leave.
Senator Murphy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Draheim and Chair Champion. I appreciate very much the discussion that's happening. And Senator Champion, your clarity about your bill, its purpose from the start of this hearing to make sure that we are moving a budget bill on a very important topic at this point in time in Minnesota and in America that is dealing with jobs and workforce development is critical. I very much appreciate the work that you and the committee have done to put together a bill that's going to serve Minnesotans and that we're going to be able to take to the floor and move through the Senate. Really critically important. I also appreciate the care with which you have set paid family leave as an issue that still has charge, though it has been debated and litigated and moved and put into law. So I appreciate that you have set for us a standard that that is a separate issue and not in this bill. And while there are multiple jurisdictions that paid family leave touches, I appreciate your approach and support you in that.
Thank you, Senator Draheim.
Thank you. Chair Marty, thank you, Senator Murphy, Senator Champion. But I'm still not getting an answer, and I guess obviously I'm not going to get an answer. So I guess, my biggest concern, obviously, originally was on the paid family medical leave not being in the bill for transparency. And, I haven't been around as long as you, Senator Champion, but maybe nonpartisan staff could just explain to me how often we see something on a spreadsheet like this but not embedded in the bill. Senator Pratt brought up the rules, which we had a hearing on trying to be consistent between the two bodies and the state agencies. And, it's frustrating for me to not get a straight answer. And, so there's two different issues here. One, when I go back into my district, and I think I had 7 meetings our week off with various groups throughout my 7 counties. And it just isn't the business people that have concerns with this program. It's the schools and the counties. And they really didn't have a voice. They really didn't get a chance to come up and ask the questions. And it was one of the first things we talked about, was to have a hearing on paid family medical leave. And you did a great job of bringing a lot of groups through that had bills up, except for paid family medical leave. So this is my only opportunity to offer it. But you had mentioned that there was another bill these should be amended to, but I don't know which bill that is. I don't even know which committee it would be in. But maybe we could ask nonpartisan if, they have seen things like this on a spreadsheet and take money away from a program, but say that this isn't the committee to have the discussion about that program.
Mr. Nauman.
Mr. Chair and Senator Draheim, I want to make sure I'm understanding what you're asking of us as nonpartisan staff. So I think what you're asking is largely a reflection of a judgment call that's being made by the chair in bringing forth the bill. I think you bundled a couple of items. Let me just make an attempt, and you can tell me whether I'm going in the right direction. In this particular case, a program was established and bases were established in law 2 years ago, and MMB reflected those direct appropriations in the base for 26, 27, and then beyond. And in the judgment of the author of the bill, it was he determined, Senator Champion determined that it was more appropriate to use the statutory appropriation to provide the appropriations for the administrative costs related to the paid family and medical leave program. And thus what you see on the spreadsheet is the reductions of the direct appropriations that would have occurred had they been directly appropriated per the Pratt Amendment. That's an example of what it would have looked like. This is a unique circumstance. It's a program setup that's being established, and there is permanent law that provides appropriations. We can hand out a copy of what the statutory appropriation looks like if you'd like to see it. And there are direct appropriations. The law does appear to us to contemplate that if direct appropriations were provided, that the statutory appropriation would have no effect. And in this case, Senator Champion is choosing to bring forth a bill that uses the statutory appropriation rather than direct appropriations. Is that an answer to your question, or did I cover it? Did I not cover it?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and it becomes obvious that we're not going to find out what the original jurisdiction of this bill that Senator Frentz had, what it is. But I think it's unfortunate we have something this important that obviously we have people on both sides of the aisle that feel this is an important bill and feel that this needs to be changed. And I think, as Senator Draheim alluded to in the town hall meeting that they had, it was very evident that there was a lot of concern about this bill, a lot of concern about how this is working and where it's going and how nothing is happening to change the things that the public is requesting to have changed. So I think that we should be taking action on this, and I would encourage people to vote for this amendment.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me just be very clear on one of Senator Draheim's first questions. The Committee of Primary Jurisdiction for Paid Family Medical Leave is the Jobs Committee. This is a deed program. And Senator Champion and the Jobs Committee has jurisdiction over deed. We are careening down a path where I fear this program is going to go the way of Min-Lars and the beginning of MNsure as an abject failure. So, Senator Champion, you keep talking about a separate bill. Can you tell me which bill that is and who the chief author is that is carrying these changes?
Mr. Chair, Senator Pratt. Senator Pratt, thank you so much for the question. And I think that it's important for us to be very clear. One is that there was a decision, and I keep saying this, and you all were part of this. There was a decision for the paid family and medical leave to travel on its own and separate. The person who is the chief author and the person who is, for lack of a better word, overseeing any work related to paid family and medical leave is Senator Mann. Any changes, any bills that relates to that has always been understood that it is Senator Mann who will work on that bill and not me as an author or someone in our on our committee. So that decision is separate, which is the only thing I'm saying here. I'm not commenting on whether there are serious issues or not, whether something should be addressed or not. Notice I have not gone into that. I have not gone into defending or anything. That's not for me to do. That is for the person who's in charge of that. I do not know of a specific bill. I'm not suggesting that there isn't. It's also my understanding that there's a lot of ongoing discussions on the leadership level. That's all I know. That's what I believe, and that's what I will appreciate. Those ongoing decisions and conversations, but what I'm here to do as Chair of Jobs is to keep those things separate, as I've always done, and I've been very transparent about that. Now, again, Senator Dames, have stated that there's serious problems. That's not for me to deal with, because that's not my bill. And so I just hope that we would appreciate that and appreciate the decision that I've made as chair, not just this year, but from the very beginning. So I'm not changing in midstream. So that's why I'm asking the committee not to accept the A29 amendment, not because it's not good, not because it's not warranted. It is because that's a separate bill and a separate process, and that I would hope that we would not do anything to this jobs bill in order to conflate the two issues.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And you know, we keep hearing about a separate jobs bill or a separate paid family medical leave bill, and there isn't one moving. I guess we have to go through Senator Mann, and God help us if Senator Mann ever decides to retire, that there'll be nobody to oversee this program going forward. I mean, if she passes away, we're going to have to put her in cryogenics so we can keep her going or have some sort of virtual reality. So thank you for putting the virtual reality into the robotics program.
Well, Mr. Chair, and to Senator Pratt, I understand that it is not an issue as to whether, because we're certainly not hoping anything happens to Senator Mann. So let me just say that first and foremost. Number two, we know that if someone decides to go on and to do something different, someone else will pick up and carry that mantle. Because this program, I understand to be very important. And whatever modifications or changes, there will always be an ongoing conversation about that. I'm just asking this committee to respect the fact that I've been very clear about keeping those two things separate.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, Senator Champion, if the majority were interested in transparency in this program, we would have adopted the A25 and done the direct appropriation rather than rely on the statutory appropriation. I think that's my final comment on this amendment, Mr. Chair.
Further discussion on the Draheim A29 amendment. Senator Draheim.
Thank you. I'll make it brief. I request a roll call on the E29. You know, and just for the record, I just looked and I did not see any bills by this mythical man in the Jobs Committee or anything to do with paid family medical leave. So I will be interested to hear from the majority leader what committee that would be on. But Senate File 3141, the underlying premise of this amendment, it's word for word from that bill, was assigned by Senator Champion, the President's office, which you are the President.
Absolutely.
To your committee. But irrelevant. Let's take the vote, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. No further discussion. Staff will take the roll.
Senator Marty?
No.
Senator Friends?
Nope.
Senator Pratt?
Yes.
Senator Champion?
No.
Senator Dames?
Yes.
Senator Draheim?
Yes.
Senator Howe? Senator Jasinski?
Yes.
Senator Mohammed?
No.
Senator Murphy?
No.
Senator Pappas?
No.
Senator Wickland?
No.
Senator Howe?
There being 4 ayes and 7 nays, the motion does not prevail. Further discussion on the bill, further amendments, discussion, whatever. If not, Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to say before we move to combine this with the labor bill, I just wanted to reiterate a couple of concerns that I have. Senator Champion, thank you. You know, you've worked hard to try to pull together a bipartisan bill. We had bipartisan votes coming out of committee. My guess is at the end of the day, once this is combined with the labor bill, that might not be the case. I won't speak for my colleagues. But a couple of things in the discussion today have me concerned and may have even flipped my vote from committee to now. And I think it goes back to the discussion that we've had on paid family medical leave. We've talked about transparency. We have a budget rule that talks about transparency. And it's clear to me the majority is not interested in transparency when it comes to this program. There is no direct appropriation that would comply with Senate Budget Rule, or Budget Rule B6. There is no discussion about changes to paid family medical leave. We're told that there's this mythical bill out there that's going to be carried. We've heard that, well, we can't do it now. We'll try to do it in conference committee. I think is not transparent for the Senate and the constituents that we serve. So to say that this is a transparent bill when it comes to paid family medical leave is false. You could even go as far to say it's a lie. Because it's not. We're relying on smoke and mirrors to try to fund the program without being fully transparent on what the costs are going to be. There's nothing in the bill that talks about how those monies are going to be drawn out of that special revenue account. On the plus side, there are some good things. I think there are some good programs that Senator Champion is funding. We've had a lot of discussion around making sure that we have removing the barriers of employment and getting more Minnesotans to work, and making sure that, as Senator Champion and I have talked about on many, many cases, the desire to have people in careers, not just jobs. I also want to thank Senator Champion for including the reporting language that's in the bill and his work on that. He's right. I would have liked to have seen that language be stronger, but I think we came to a good compromise point. And it was interesting that much of the language that got incorporated in this bill ties back to a recommendation that the legislative auditor provided us in a recent report. So I'm looking forward to seeing those changes implemented and implemented quickly. But Senator Champion, for the primary reason of discussion we've had on paid family medical leave, I'm going to be a no vote on your bill today. I think it's just far too important. And as we heard in committee, we'll be looking for a separate bill, but it's clear to me sitting here today, there is no separate bill, there is no separate vehicle, and we are trying to hide the cost and the implication of that program from Minnesotans. And that is wrong. That is why we built that into our budget rules, and the majority has decided that the rules don't apply when it's inconvenient. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Senator Champion, before we put the bills together, any further comments?
Just briefly, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Pratt, and thank you to the committee for expressing your thoughts and concerns. I sincerely appreciate that. I'm disappointed, Senator Pratt, to hear that you're so disappointed that you're not going to support a bill that we all worked so hard on, and I've been very transparent and very clear. If you go back and listen to the tape, I constantly talked about pay family medical leave being separate, and that of course you wouldn't find anything in here. I didn't hide anything in here. I didn't try to do anything other than do exactly what I said I was going to do, and that I believe that we have adhered to the rules. We're not trying to do anything other than be thoughtful. And I will say this, that your language around the reporting, we will continue to work on that, and you have my commitment about that, and there's nothing in this bill that I'm not always willing to have further discussion around, because I live by a motto that says there's always room for improvement. So anything that we can do to improve it, I am willing to do that. And last but certainly not least, as it pertains to paid family and medical leave, we believe that any concerns or appreciations for it should always be a separate discussion and not merged into our jobs bill. And I've made that clear, and so I don't know how much more transparent that I can be. I don't know how much more transparent I can be even in my actions, but I will say this, I've been very transparent, and I continue to be transparent. So thank you so very much, and we'll continue to talk.
Thank you, Senator Champion. Now, Senator Champion moves to amend Senate File 1832 by adding the contents of Senate File 2373 as amended, that's the labor bill, into Senate File 1832. Is there a discussion of that motion? Senator Draheim.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Senator Champion. I think he's put together a good bill. You know, obviously the things I would change, but I thought you did a great job of making sure the majority of the bills were heard this year and everybody had a voice, except for the paid family medical leave. But I cannot support this motion to put the labor bill in with yours. And I supported you in committee. I support your half of this bill. So I'm going to urge my colleagues up here to vote no on amending the labor bill onto the jobs bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion of Senator Champion's motion to amend the labor bill into this one? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion prevails. Now Senator Champion moves to amend Senate File 1832 as amended, be recommended pass, and instruct staff to make technical and conforming changes. Is there further discussion on that motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion prevails. Thank you, Senator Champion and staff, for the excellent work on this.
Mr. Chair, I want you to know that I was sitting here so long that once it was done, I was still looking at you in order to continue to do some additional work. So thank you so much. And I'll continue to work.
With that, as I indicated earlier, we're going to take a recess. I was going to say brief recess, but I think given the fact we have to start getting ready for session, a half hour.
I forgot to also thank my committee administrator, Tom Melton, and also Taylor Tidwell Bennett and Shamika Bogan, who seems to be, you know, someone who's engaged in everything. And of course to our fiscal staff and Ms. Noner, and then of course our Senate Counsel, Ms. Carlin Dole Fontaine. I just want to openly thank them all for all the great work that they continue to do. So thank you so much.
Thank you all very much. With that, so what we're going to do is recess to the call of the chair, which will now be after session. And you can keep your packets here on the table. We will give at least a half hour notice before we would reconvene to take up Senator Hur's environment bill. And with that, this committee is in recess.